At the start of the Californian-Texan War, the kit of the volunteer soldier was an amalgamation of, well, in a sense, mostly surplus. But we will get more into that in this, episode 3 of Operation Burning Star, Milsim series. Stay tuned. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, in a sense, this is what the volunteer fighter of Tennessee would be wearing. Or in this case, my kit being the representation of the 5th Tennessee Volunteer Regiment, or simply 5th Tennessee. What I have on here is essentially what a grunt would have, which would be an Alice harness, or Alice gear, more or less, an M1 helmet, and a trusty M16. Now, you're probably asking yourself, why the fuck do they have an M16A1 when God only knows they have a ton of other guns they could get? Key word here, to keep in mind, volunteer!
Dumbass! You dumbass! You're a dumbass! Such a dumbass!
Meaning, either they're given this, or they bring what they can from home. This being my little contribution, which is some hard, hyper-tough, fingerless gloves. That's kind of my little contribution to the volunteer loadout. Now, yes, I know a lot of people are immediately blowing up the comments section saying, that doesn't make a lick of fucking sense.
Of course!
In the great words of Arlie Ermy,
Churchill, it's my show.
So yeah, shut the fuck up. But in all seriousness though, for those of you who've never been to Tennessee, Tennessee's kind of that little state that's got a lot of poor counties, and is a state known for saving money. So, in a sense, it would make sense that they would outfit volunteer regiments with essentially Vietnam-era equipment. And I'm not going to lie, and a little fun fact for those of you who didn't know about our military has a stockpile of weapons. And when I mean stockpiles, I mean there are literal sites where there are M16A1s, M1 Garands, M14s, M1 carbines, Thompsons, not Lewis guns, light machine guns, all this stuff, in barrels of oil, ready to just be yanked out, cleaned off, and used in case they ran out of guns to give to the front line. So they were just like, here, take it, take it, take it. That's literally what is going on during this phase, because there are so many volunteers wanting to join the volunteer regiments. They're basically saying, okay, let's take an M16A1, put some mag pull on it, give it to them. Doesn't matter. Move it along. Next in line. Same thing with the helmet. There's not a lot of Pashkit helmets to go around, so they're basically giving these poor bastards, or at least me, the poor bastard, an M1 helmet that was good enough for my grandpa in Vietnam, so it's good enough to save my sorry ass on the front lines of California. So, in a sense, yes, looking at it from a logistics point of view, it makes a lot of damn sense that when you have a mass influx of volunteers wanting to go fight America's enemies, and you ain't got enough equipment, it makes a lot of damn sense to basically give them all the surplus shit. I'm not joking on that, folks. That's actually something we did during World War II. The Marines, they got the boot of it. The Army and the Navy got the best shit. Marines during World War II, they got the boot. They got all the backlog. They got all the shit that they couldn't get from the Army or the Navy. Anyway, so let's go ahead and break down the kit itself and actually talk about it in a sense, as well as what the officers get, or at least the non-commissioned officers get. Shall we? Alright, starting off, let's go ahead and move, let's set the guns to the side, because if I talk about my Sweet 16 any more than I already have, it's going to be like the Nostalgia Craig talking about the X-Men cartoon. Let's just set this to the side, shall we? Carefully, because I do love my Sweet 16. M1 helmet. Let's talk about that. The M1 helmet is a reproduction, actually. This is not a legitimate M1 helmet. But the way I have it set up is essentially what someone who's been on the front lines has it set up. You got the ace of spades right there. You got a little pin right there, just for good luck, just to kind of flavor yourself out. And I have the back of it folded out a bit to cover the back of my neck and protect it from the sun. Now, you're probably thinking, well, now, if they're volunteer fighters, why don't they just go out and buy Pashkit helmets? Why don't they just go out and buy Kevlar helmets? Well, that would make sense if they weren't being given this shit, given 4 weeks of basic training, and then shipped out to the front lines. Well, not before making a stop to Texas and then being shipped out to the front lines. You get what I'm trying to say, folks. A volunteer fighter was essentially given very little time to get the shit together and then move. That's how fast they were processing volunteer fighters. In terms of the story, more or less. So yes, in a sense, that's what's going on. I know you may think that's madness and that they're just giving these kids, yes, in a sense, volunteer fighters, Vietnam-era kit, and not exactly doing it. Here's the thing, guys. Just like with the Marines during World War II, especially with Guadalcanal, the first engagement, or at least I think Guadalcanal was the first engagement for the Marines. I know a lot of you are going to correct me in the comments section. When the Marines were first deployed to the Pacific, yes, they were not given a lot of kit. They weren't exactly given the latest and greatest. But it wasn't until after the first engagement in the Pacific where they actually upgraded. So understand now, this kit might not be the same kit I'll be rocking the next go-around, but in the first Milsim event of Operation Burning Star, this is the kit I'll be rocking. But in terms of a type of storyline, by the second go-around, I will probably have a Pashkit helmet, a Kevlar vest, and a lot of other stuff on me that would actually make a lot more sense to be outfitted with. But that might take time depending on how things go the first go-around. So, moving on from there. The actual Alice harness, or at least the Alice kit. Why Alice? You're kidding me, right? Anyone and their mother who's actually worked with this stuff knows that Alice is really damn good. Say what you will, I will say what I will about my grandpa, but when he served in Vietnam, he actually would praise this stuff. Because you could do damn near anything with Alice. I'm not joking on that. Alice is probably the most modular system outside of the most modern modular plate carrier we have on the market. And even then, that's stretching it. Alice is ubiquitous. Alice is everywhere. You can literally do damn near anything with Alice and still do more with it. I'm not joking on that, folks. Now, moving on from that. In terms of how I have it set up, I have, in a sense, 2 ammo pouches on one side, a canteen on my right, and a first aid kit on my back. Because, of course I would. And on my hip is a holster. In a sense, the first actual modern holster that you would see, which, of course, is the M12. Now, the M12 being quick, easy to detach, in a sense, and actually holds a variety of handguns. I'm not joking. I've taken the M12 and I've put a variety of handguns in this sucker. I will be doing a video on it very soon. The M12 is your best friend. And you can actually take the little loop here and, well, let me actually undo it off here. The M12 here is a good handgun, is literally a good holster. The best holster, in my opinion, for the price tag of under 40 bucks. And with that nice little elastic right there, take some paracord, actually pull it like that, and actually flip it off. You can quickly grab your handgun and then put it back in. That's essentially what it is for. Now, moving on from the handgun that's in here, because believe me, I know a lot of you already saw that, and you were like, hey! We'll get to that in a second. You ravenous little bastards. We'll get to that in a second. The actual camo I have on. The actual camo I have on is your standard surplus BU Woodlands. Why is your question? Why aren't you using digital? Why aren't you using multicam? Reiterating the point from before. Too many people to equip with modern gear!
Of course!
Then Woodland is a good scenario for, well, essentially sending people to the woods and those who have fought in the woods. Literally, everything this side of the Mason-Dixie line, from, I don't know, Kentucky, Alabama, Mississippi, Texas, Louisiana, Missouri, South Carolina, Virginia, and my favorite state of all time, Texas! And Oklahoma, its cousin that it doesn't like to talk about, even when it's around during the holidays, because of course nobody likes Oklahoma. And Arkansas! The majority of the land basin are woods. So it'd make a lot of sense to actually outfit those guys who have been in the woods, hunted in the woods, lived in the woods most of their lives, farmed in the woods, lived off the woods, you know, basically did everything in the woods, to outfit them with Woodland! It makes a lot of damn sense, don't you think? Now, moving on from that, boots. Boots are another thing altogether, and there are so many different things that I honestly could not be able to break that down. And everyone has their own preference on their footwear and what they wear to protect those footsies from everything from a copperhead to essentially a rock coming down on it to break your big toe. To anyone who's ever had a rock fall on their big toe, let's be for real, that is the most painful feeling in the world. Especially stubbing your pinky toe on the edge of a coffee room table. Ouch. It's not going, it really isn't. But as for the boots I actually do wear, let me go grab them real quick. These are the boots I wear. I bought these at a military surplus stand at a, at a flea market. And the name of them are Rates, something like that. What I can't exactly make out the name of them because the leather on it is essentially a little worn. So, what are they and what do they offer? Well, the best part is, the best part about these boots, I don't have to lace them up. Best part about them is little Velcro and zipper. These things are side zipped, they're Velcroed, and they hold securely on my ankle and near to the upper thigh, well, lower thigh to be exact, and they have yet to fail me. I've had these for a solid 2 years now, and they have yet to fail me. They have yet to have my, well, really anything hurt in terms of footwear. So I would definitely be rocking these, and would be great for when you've just came back on patrol, your dogs are literally barking an almighty storm because you've been on them for 5 hours straight, and you just undo them like that, and then you unzip, and then you remove your boots, and you just sit by the fire with your mates, and you say to yourself, by God, my feet are killing me! That's the kind of feeling you know if you've worked 5-hour shifts at a factory walking on your dogs for the past 5 straight hours, because of course your floor manager won't let you sit down. Finally, we get to the thing that everyone and their mother has been asking about. Guns! What about the guns? Well, yes, motherfucker, we're going to talk about the fucking guns. Okay, so everyone and their mother knows I love me an M16. I love my M16A1. So, the question everyone's gotten is, why the A1, not an A2 or an A3, maybe an A4? If I've already restated it several times, I'm not going to restate it again. The big reason why the M16A1, mind you, after all the kinks have been worked out, why the A1 is essentially, it works. It just works. Quoting Todd Howard, it just works.
And again, it just works.
The reason for the M16A1 is because, again, logistically reasoning. There are more M16A1s in storage than there are A2s and A3s. The military right now is using A3s and A4s to a large extent. In storage right now, we have more M16A1s than we know what to do with. So it makes logistical sense that Tennessee, or whoever at this point is logistically supplying the volunteer forces with weapons, would take M16A1s and slap on some Magpul on that bitch, and basically give it to the volunteer forces and be like, here you go, if it worked for your grandpa in Vietnam, it'll work for you, move on. Now, while yes, they will probably supply them with 20-round magazines, they will opt those for that good old-fashioned 30-round Stenag mag. Be it GI mag, P mag, or otherwise, they will opt for more firepower, or at least more magazine capacity over the 20-round magazines. Now, I know you're saying, why Magpul? Why MOE? Why M-Lock? I know I want to let out my inner fanboy of Magpul. I know I want to let out my inner fanboy of MOE. I know I want to let out my inner fanboy of PTS. But here's the thing, folks. There has actually been a test done on MOE and M-Lock itself. Now, I know everyone and their mother's probably going to say, well, now, wait a minute, Al. You kind of skipped over what we were really thinking. Okay, so, for everyone and their mother who's actually wondering, why don't they go M-Lock? Or, not M-Lock, I'm talking about M-Lock. Keymod, that's what I'm thinking of. Why don't they go Keymod for the M16A1s? Why don't they outfit it with Keymod rails? Or put Picatinny on there? One of two reasons. Reason number one. Pay attention, mind you. Pay attention. Reason number one. They're outfitting the A4s with Picatinny's as well as the A3 with Picatinny. So the majority of the Picatinny rails are going towards these guys who are using it more than them. And logistically speaking, would be a lot better since the frontline forces would need them a lot better than the volunteer forces, logistically speaking. Number 2. Keymod, while yes, being good, is not as good as M-Lock. M-Lock is faster, more streamlined, and easy to attach than Keymod. I dare you to fucking fight me in the comments section. I fucking dare you, because guess what? There was a test done. It is an independent test. There are more tests done on M-Lock. There are more videos out there on M-Lock versus Keymod. M-Lock is better in terms of a combat situation. In terms of actually having something outfitted on a combat rifle, M-Lock's better. And would make logistical sense. So in a sense, M-Lock would be better because if you're out on the front lines or you're opting up for a mission on the front lines, it'd make a lot more sense because you could take an M-Lock rail here, pop it on the side, pop your PEC box on the side, take another, or at least an M-Lock grip, pop it on there, then take another M-Lock rail, pop it in front of that M-Lock grip, and pop a grenade launcher on that bitch. Seriously. People underestimate the versatility and modularity of M-Lock. M-Lock, my friends, is your best friend. By all means, go for it. So, I've gushed about it. What about the one thing on the end? Because everyone and their mother knows, well, can see it, I have a bayonet on my hip. Well, yes. Of course, they will be outfitted with a bayonet. Do you really think that they're going to the front lines without something in case their pistol runs out of ammunition? Or when there's a situation like in We Were Soldiers where the commanding officer tells you to fix bayonets?
Fix bayonets. And Nicole Colgren.
And then you charge up a hill, stabbing commies and shooting commies while they're stabbed! Bringing them full frontal democracy and freedom!
Take away my fear. Sweat and blood.
I'm sorry, what were we talking about? Well, yeah, bayonets. In terms of the actual thing itself, at the event, yes, there will be rules specifically for bayonets. And the rule, as specified and as idiot-proof as I can give you morons, is essentially, if you run up to somebody, tap on the shoulder, barrel away from them, so that way you don't accidentally shoot them. So please, if you're going to charge up a hill with your bayonet fixed, please do keep the finger off the trigger, but please do keep it in rock and roll mode in case there's some bastard coming up on you after you've done stabbed their friends. I'm just saying, you cannot underestimate the many uses of the rock and roll mode. Anywho, now moving on from your main rifle and of course the bayonet. Obviously, you can't have a main firearm, you can't have your primary gun without a sidearm. So what is the proper and obvious symbolic sidearm of the Tennessee Volunteer Fighter? If any of you have known me good enough, you know damn well it's a 1911. Woo! Yes, ladies and gentlemen, 1911. Why 1911? 3 reasons. 1, the 1911 is the most American is literally the most American icon of America. You cannot look at a 1911 and not immediately hear the American national anthem going off in the back of your head. You cannot look at the 1911 and not immediately feel the feelings of freedom and democracy course through your veins. You cannot look at the 1911 without seeing the Marines and the GIs using this to liberate Europe and the Pacific from totalitarian tyrants. Number 2, the 45 ACP round. The 1911 is a very effective handgun, and the fact that it is chambered in 45 ACP means you have knockdown power, you have stopping power, you have the ability to literally rack the slide, shoot the one bastard, shoot the next bastard, shoot the next bastard after him, shoot that one bastard, go for the next bastard, reload, rack the slide, go, 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 and literally use only one shot. Because with the 1911 and the 45 ACP cartridge, you only need one shot. As demonstrated by Alvin C. York during the First World War, a Tennessee hero, an American hero, and a representative of the American Medal of Honor, who used the 1911 and used all 7 rounds for 7 Germans. One shot, folks, one shot. Finally, the third reason. The third undisputed reason why the 1911. If you haven't been convinced after the first 2 reasons, then what the hell is wrong with you? The third reason is because it is presented to us from Gun Jesus himself, for it was designed by Saint Browning, for it was brought to us from the Lord himself. But in all seriousness, though, the 1911 is a reliable handgun. If you even do research on the 1911, you know that the 1911 itself is a reliable handgun that after the amount of rounds that was originally meant for the trials, they just dunked the damn thing in water after it overheated, brought it back up, put a new magazine in, racked the slide, and kept firing 1,000 more rounds out of it. That is the reliability of a Colt 1911. Now, moving on. You probably think, I'm done by this point. You probably think, oh, I've gone through all the kit. I have probably talked the best of my ability. Wrong! For you see, ladies and gentlemen, we have not talked about the other kit. The kits of the sergeant. The kits of a captain, an officer. Someone of higher rank that is obviously being the idiot that's sending you to a pointless, suicidal death. So, what's the next kit, you may ask? Well, I'm happy you asked. Let's bring it out, shall we? This is, in fact, the kit and loadout for the non-commissioned officer and officer. You immediately see the Pashkit helmet. You immediately see the Alice harness. And immediately see the smaller, more compact M4. I hear the questions going out the wazoo, so let me go ahead and answer them now. The reason for the kit itself being the way it is because you've survived long enough on the front lines that you've earned a little bit of Kevlar. Here you go. You're just given a helmet. Maybe you're given a vest. I don't know. Secondly, the M4. The M4, once again, being outfitted with MOE. I do not have a PTS or Magpul stock yet. I am planning on getting those, but I do have the nice Car 15 stock, which is rather nice, very nice. So, you're probably wondering, okay, what's the story behind this? The story behind this is simple. The non-commissioned officer, the sergeant, of course, is given the Pashkit helmet and a Alice harness with a lot of ammo to carry because he is the guy who's literally running around making sure that one guy is not running out of ammo or that one rookie is not going to die or be dumb enough that he loses a magazine and the sergeant has to immediately open up one of his pouches or ammo pouch, whichever one he's carrying at the moment, to immediately hand that guy ammo. Literally. I can imagine at the event, because of this role, and I'm dead serious here at Operation Burning Star, I can immediately hear the new guys immediately out the top of his lungs, "Ammo! I need ammo over here!" And of course the one guy run over, pulls out a magazine, hands it to him, and then runs back to go to another guy who's running out of ammo. So, what about everything else about this loadout? Okay, so let's go ahead and talk about the Pashkit helmet. Well, you already understand the Pashkit helmet, but what about the Alice harness? The harness itself is actually really good, having 4 magazine pouches here, which hold a combination of 6 magazines. And then, of course, you can attach the Alice belt to it, which gives you an extra bit of magazine holdage. Actually, really nice. And on the back, of course, you have some MOLLE webbing for all your MOLLE gear. Now, the best part about this is that you can actually wear this over a vest. You can actually wear this over a flak jacket. You can wear this sucker well, Alice in general, you can wear it over all your protection needs. And since this thing is basically camo and woodland, it's good for a good old boy like me who needs to hide in the woods and make sure that I'm not spotted. But you're probably asking, is there a downside to wearing a Pashkit helmet? Yes, it makes you an easy fucking target. That's the downside to actually having different helmet variants and not exactly having everyone outfit with the same thing for logistics reasons. You can immediately spot out the sergeant and the captain or officer or whatever rank they have, because if you're hiding in a trench and you immediately just peek your head up, you will immediately get a round go right over or right through the helmet, depending on what they have. Because the helmet design for a nice little commie sniper is going to make you an easy target for them. Because they're not going to go for the guy with the M1 helmet. No. They're going to go with the guy with the Pashkit helmet who's either giving orders or shouting orders, and they're going to go after that fucker. Or they're going to go after the fucker with the Pashkit helmet who's hiding way in the back. Because that guy's an officer. That guy needs to be taken out. Or they'll go for the radio operator, but that's way down the line. In terms of actual weapons, the M4 carbine is supposed to designate who's an officer or who is essentially a non-commissioned officer. Why the M4 carbine? Well, one, logistics reasons. An M4 carbine is going to give you more or less that ability to be both compact and give you a designation. So that way, if you see a guy with an M4 carbine, you can tell, oh, that guy's an officer or he's a sergeant. You can immediately run to that guy. Of course, once again, they'll probably be issued with 20-round magazines, but like before, they will have 30-round mags for that extra firepower, well, the extra capacity for firepower. And once again, with that M-lock, you can have that angled foregrip to give you that better, just that better ability to do that. And everything else is obviously explanatory. Now, I know what you're about to ask. You're about to ask, okay, do non-commissioned officers or officers get 1911s? Yes. But at the same time, they're also given another option for their handgun. You might be asking, what handgun's that? Well, my friend, the handgun in question is something that even Dirty Harry, freaking Callahan himself, would say, I approve of this. Clint Eastwood would probably be smiling at this idea, but for a volunteer fighter, a sergeant or an officer, if given the choice of his handgun, is given a 44 fucking Magnum. Let that sink in. I'm just gonna let that sink in for you guys.
Seriously?
What?
I just heard you get hard.
Just take all my money! Oh, not this soon! Not this soon! Ah! Bunch of slack-jawed faggots around here. This stuff will make you a goddamn sexual tyrannosaurus. Just like me.
Well, I believe everyone's gun boner has been substantially erected. Yes, and while technically this is the crappy version, the little spring version of the 44 Magnum, to definitely distinguish an officer or a non-commissioned officer from the rest of the grunts, look at their hip, or look at their chest, or wherever the hell they have their 44 Magnum. You can definitely distinguish an officer if they have a 44 Magnum, or if they have a 1911. But most of all, they're probably going to go for the 44 Magnum just for the symbol status. I mean, let's face it. You're given a choice between an automatic 1911, which, don't get me wrong, I love my 1911s. But at the same time, I gotta love my 44 Magnums. I gotta love them. But either way, though, that's just sort of how it goes. Now, would you use a 44 Magnum in combat? That's completely up to you, buddy. I mean, if you're close enough to the war zone where you literally have your 44 Magnum on, you are literally lighting people up with your 6 shots, then, by all means, go ahead and do so, moron. You're the dumbass who got close enough to the combat zone that you have to use it. Or, if you're going the George S. Patton route of leading his men from the front lines, and you have your ivory-handled peacemaker on your hip, then by all means, I respect you, and I will gladly follow your lead. Either way, though. Moving on. Now, I know a lot of you are immediately asking a lot of questions, such as one, which inevitably has already been asked many times, what about Texas? What about the other states that have pledged support to Texas? What does Texas have? What do they got? Guns, everything else. Well, in my mind, I believe that if Texas was to actually do this and actually did go to war, In my mind, I do believe that they would stick with the M16, but they would have the better version of the M16, the M16A3 and A4, and would definitely be there. In terms of handguns, I could definitely see them going with a with either a 1911 or something in 45 ACP, or with a 40 cal, such as a Beretta M9, but instead of it being an M9, an M40, which means it is chambered in 40 cal. But that's just speculation because I'm not a Texan. I'm a Tennessean. And I'm doing a Tennessee 5th Volunteer Regiment loadout. I'm not exactly doing a Texan Army loadout. That's up to my Texas viewers and to my Texas friends who actually would probably literally do everything they can to get to this event because they can then live out their dreams to basically literally stomp down the California border and just march their happy butts all the way to the Capitol building, busting it down and liberating California's people from a communist regime. Or so I've been told. Either way, though. Now, there is one final bit of kit that I think a lot of people would be interested to hear about, considering one of the game aspects is tear gas. Not real tear gas, mind you, actually simulated tear gas from Enola Gay smoke grenades and, more or less, you get what I'm trying to say. Basically, smoke grenades, certain color smoke grenades, either white or yellow, are going to simulate tear gas. And how I personally would have the thing set up on me, well, now, yes, the big aspect of course, the simulated tear gas attacks would be respirators. Now, in terms of everything else, I know what you're thinking. You're thinking, you know what, that's a little bit overkill, don't you think? No, not really, because one, this does a few things. And while, yes, I will do a more detailed video on this, well, it's more detailed video on the subject itself, especially the game aspect of it as well, and the game mechanics, the thing itself is set right here at the readiness position, meaning it is right here near my chest, or at least on my chest, so that way, if there is possibility of gas attack, or at least tear gas attack, I can immediately pop open the bag right here, reach in and grab it, which I will essentially give you a sort of simulated version of that, or at least simulate how it goes. So, let's say I am currently on the front lines in a trench, currently facing Californian lines. Well, we happen to see them doing something that we haven't seen before. We see them kind of setting up some weird tubes along the way, some tubular launchers. We're thinking, okay, it's going to be a mortar attack. Well, then we start hearing people screaming, yelling, saying something, and it isn't until they get to our position that they start screaming, gas, 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 gas! By that point in time, it's like, oh shit! And immediately prepare for a possible attack. Now what I have on is the Israeli civilian mask. The Israeli civilian mask is actually got ballistic rated lens, or at least in this case, shatter resistant lens that allows me to actually have the ability to take direct hits. So this would be an ideal mask to have for the event. Or at least some mask that would actually give the ability. Now, the way I have the box, or at least the bag right here set up, is I have the hose snake through. The picture should be coming up online very soon. Or the picture should be coming up here very soon. Now you're probably asking yourselves, why? Why would they use tear gas against people? Well, in history, tear gas has been used a lot of times to try and demoralize and even break up lines, break down morale, things like that. Now, another question you're asking in terms of the actual gameplay itself is, why? Why would you do that? One, immersion, and two, safety reasons, because a lot of people don't exactly take well to smoke. So having the gas mask aspect would actually be great for those who have asthma or asthmatic. Which would probably be better if I'm telling you guys this with the mask off. So let me just go ahead and take off this and Let's talk about it a little better, shall we? In terms of the actual gas mask aspect, like I said before, the immersion would be killer. There's not a lot of events outside of World War I Airsoft that actually gives you that ability to play in a gas mask. And while, yes, you could technically play in a gas mask at your local field, being able to do so like this is something a little bit better and something a little bit more, well, let's face it, awesome. Now, yes, you don't have to do it like the setup like I have, and believe me, the setup itself is still a little bit more complicated, but I am trying out a few things. It's still a work in progress on this because, well, I want to do something a little bit better in a sense, something a little bit bigger, but that's just how it is. Outside of that, the whole gas mask aspect is still a big question mark, and how we would have to implement gameplay wise, and whether or not we would have people actually use this particular style of mask over other styles of masks that have a ballistic lens outserts that can put over the lens itself, so that way they're protected. Now, the only other event I've ever seen gas masks actually implemented was a American Milsim, I think, Blind Head or something like that. I saw it in a Brain Exploder video once where he actually played, where people actually played with gas masks, which was a very cool aspect of the actual event itself and was very fun in my mind. Now, like I said, this right here is a very much so work in progress type deal. So it probably wouldn't be this setup with the hose attached to the mask. It'll probably be just the filter itself attached to the mask and there not be a hose. But again, it's completely work in progress. So I will keep you guys updated in the community tab whenever I actually start working on this stuff a little bit more. Now, I could go more in depth on a lot of stuff, but then again, this is just my personal kit of itself. Now, something I will tell you guys that, yes, I am in fact working on patches with one of our guys who's a new guy attached to AAA Airsoft, which is patches for the volunteer regiments, especially something that would honestly be really cool in that aspect. Again, like I said, all of it's mostly work in progress, and all this right here was essentially something for you guys to check out as a whole. Anyway, thank you all for watching. As always, I've been AirsoftAl, and would you kindly let me know in the comment section down below what your volunteer kit would be if you were a proud Tennessean, or wherever southern state you may be from. And to my Texan viewers out there and my Texan friends, let me know in the comment section down below what your kit would be, or at least what you think the Texas State Army would be. And, of course, all that good jazz, whatever. Thank you all for joining me. As always, I've been AirsoftAl. And, yeah, if there is a field owner out there who has been inspired by this video series so far and likes the idea of Operation Burning Star, get in contact with me. Let's make some magic. Anyway, thank you all for watching. As always, I've been AirsoftAl, and I will see all you lovely people in the next video. Till next time. Later.